Okay, now to London, to some very strange occurrences encountered by Tony Jenkins, who's involved in animal rescue group SNARL. Tony, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dave.
Now, you've become involved in a very bizarre, a very gruesome and frankly very disturbing case in London affecting the city's cat community. Give us the background to what's been happening since last September.
Right, okay, it's pretty gruesome. Basically what's happening, there's no easy way of saying it. There's a psychopath on the loose, at least one, who is capturing cats, killing them with a blunt force trauma, and then cutting them up, cutting heads off, cutting tails off, sometimes both, sometimes head and front paws, sometimes back paw and a tail, and a number of other mutilations. He's leaving them on display, generally where he finds them, which is often in the owner's garden or on their driveway, on their doorstep, in their back garden, and other cases they're left somewhere quite public, next to a school, for example, out on the pavement, basically where people are going to see them. And it's been quite prolific. We've collected about 180 bodies now in the last year, and it's across the entire London area, and a few cases up north in Manchester, Birmingham, and a few places like that.
Okay, 180 gruesome sort of finds in the last 15 or 16 months. You say a he. Do you think it is a he? Have you any idea who it might be? Or...
No, we haven't got. He's not leaving us any clues. He's just leaving us lots of dead bodies. And amongst that total, we've got about a dozen foxes. I know some organisations and some people say that, you know, that's what foxes do, but who's doing the foxes? And we've had about 40 bodies post-mortemed. They think it's the same person thus far, by the way the cuts are made. But we can't be certain that there isn't a second or third person doing it. You know, we're looking at 4 or 5 a week on average. We've got no clues as to the identity of the person doing it, unfortunately. If we did, he'd be banged up by now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I presume, like, we're talking as well about going before a Crown Court and all that kind of thing, and charges, I presume, might be difficult to bring. But, I mean, in this case, this is just the most bizarre thing I've heard. Like, there's no real precedent for this, is there?
No, not that we're aware of. And what's unusual about it is that myself and my partner Boudica, we run a small rescue between our two homes, mainly rescuing cats, and we stumbled across this just over a year ago, and we heard about some local mutilations being. You know, there's a warning put out on Facebook, and we started looking into it and started collecting information. And next thing you know, we're collecting bodies because we managed to get it into the local press, and we realised very quickly it wasn't just Croydon; it was all over London. We spoke to the police. Now, to be fair, the police don't normally do animal crime; that's left to the RSPCA. But as the RSPCA were still blaming foxes, we were at an impasse. And once we'd got half a dozen bodies, which we had. Post-mortems carried out by our local vet who had forensic experience, and he confirmed that, you know, they've been killed with a blunt force trauma, then cut up by a human with a knife. The police then, to be fair, start taking it seriously because, of course, most people know that human killers, or certainly human serial killers, often, in most cases, start off mutilating animals in this way. So the police have been taking it quite seriously. And the RSPCA are now on board, and they've appointed a pathologist from the Royal Veterinary College.
And because you work in this area, you come across a lot of these cats. Very disturbing for you, I would imagine. What kind of... I mean, the horrific things that you've encountered when you arrive at the scene. What do you put on your gloves and you check for a chip?
Yeah, we do all that. We do a check for the area. We actually look around because often the parts that are removed are not with the body. We've had a few where heads have been found in neighbouring gardens, but by and large the parts that are taken from the animal are not recovered. That could be that they've been dumped elsewhere and foxes have carried them away, or people have come out and found a body part and just binned it. We just don't know. But it is quite horrific. We do checks for, like, is there any CCTV camera? Is there any blood on the scene? We know on some cases he abducts the cat and then returns it. So whether he does the cutting and killing in the back of a vehicle or somewhere more quiet, we're not certain. In some cases, we know he's done it at the scene because there's been small traces, typically bits of fur, where, you know, when he's cutting, basically he's cutting the head off, bits of fur, and very little blood is quite common. And what we think he does is he kills them and then waits half an hour, by which which time the blood in the bodies obviously stops circulating, it starts to congeal, and if you then cut, then there's very little blood flow anyway.
Oh, this is just beyond macabre. It's just so bizarre. I mean, like I just mentioned earlier that it must be pretty disturbing for you. Even that description is just out of this world. So I presume also when you find and dispose of these dead animals, you've got to break the news to the owners. That must be pretty tough as well.
That is very, very difficult. I mean, sometimes we don't know the owner, and the cat's not chipped, and we have got some that but a lot of cases we very quickly find out who the owner is. Sometimes I have to do it via the chip check, and it is heartbreaking to tell people that their cat's been killed and mutilated, and it's particularly difficult. We've had a number of families, a little 6-year-old girl who absolutely adored the cat. How do parents tell their little daughter that what's happened to their cat? I've had, one example, we had two grown Jamaican guys, father and son, and they literally broke down in tears in the street. And, for me, that was like, oh my God, big boys don't cry normally, and sort of macho Jamaican guys probably, but they were so upset about their cat being killed that they literally broke down in tears in the road.
Could the police be brought in even on another level? Because could a suspect be charged with criminal damage? Because technically they're the possession of their owners and therefore much longer sentences.
Yes, I mean, that's exactly what we're looking at. I mean, to be honest, although it sounds bizarre, it's unlikely that we'd be able to prove cruelty because the forensic evidence suggests that he killed them first, probably clubbed them over the head with something. And if the animal is already dead, then it's not deemed to be cruel to then cut it up and remove its head, because in effect you've killed it quickly. So that does basically leave us with criminal damage. But in some cases there's a possibility, if we can prove it, that things like aggravated trespass, because he has been into people's quite secure back gardens, and he's obviously carrying a knife of some description. So we're not certain how he will be charged and what actual proof we'd be able to prove. It doesn't appear to have left any DNA on any of the animals that would link him. So it's going to be a difficult one, but we need to try and catch someone first.
Okay, but it does help that the police think like they are looking for what you would call a serial killer. Does it help that celebrities have got involved with money offers?
The only money offers we've had is PETA put up a 5,000 reward, and so did the company called Outpaced. Wow. I think we've been trying to get Ricky Gervais to share something. He's a well-known cat lover, and he's got like 3.5 million followers. But I think any celebrities, if they just share the case and make people aware, despite all the publicity, there are so many people that just have not heard about it. So we've been doing a lot of leafleting. So where there's an attack and a confirmed case, we get volunteers to go basically post leaflets through everybody's letterbox to let people know. And
you mentioned CCTV earlier on. I mean, what's happening there? Surely that has captured the perpetrator, returning the cat even to various public places.
I think he's like a burglar. He stays away from CCTV cameras. Wherever a body is found, there's no CCTV at all. In Britain, people think CCTV's everywhere, but it's not. And a lot of cameras in residential areas are actually dummy cameras.
Of
course. We've had a couple where you thought, oh, good, a camera, and sorry, it's a dummy. It's like, okay,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you do say that that he hangs around to see the reaction post discovery, if you like, because he does come back sometimes to take the cat away.
Yeah, this morning I thought I'd be speaking to you whilst I was driving to Chessington, because I had a call this morning. A lady found a white cat with no head, no tail on it, neatly laid out on their drive. She phoned the RSPCA, who suggested they phone me, and she did. And I asked her to phone the police to report it. And by the time I got out the door, the police had turned up, and she'd gone out and covered the body up with a towel. And when the police arrived about 20 minutes later, the body was gone. Wow. And that's a mystery, because that maybe suggests that he may have been hanging about watching, and then when he saw her cover up the body, he decided to remove it. In terms of the timescale, it's unlikely that no one phoned the council unless someone else phoned the council. Right, they may possibly have removed it, or it's also possible that the owner removed it, but you wouldn't walk into someone's drive and remove a dead cat
No,
without
indeed
knocking
not.
on the
And there
door.
are many who would say that animal abuse sometimes is a precursor to attacks on people. Just as a matter of interest, by the way,
Yeah.
did you know that some of the most famous kind of serial killer people down through in history, from Son of Sam to Brenda Spencer, she's the one from the I Don't Like Monday song for the Boomtown Rats, Jeffrey Dahmer, Boston Strangler, they all have animal cruelty in their backgrounds. So the police are definitely taking. Yeah. All right, well, listen, yeah, go on.
Bernard Hogan, how the Commissioner for the Metropolitan Police came to Croydon last December, and we spoke to him about it, and that's exactly what he said. Of course, we must take it seriously because people who do this to animals often move on to humans.
Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, that's a very disturbing story. So thank you very much indeed, Tony
Jenkins,
for talking to us this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you.